Hello ladies, welcome into my channel. In case you're new here, my name is Simone and I talk all things femininity. And if you are new here, this is a great video for you because this is going to be how to step into your feminine energy. And I'm also going to get into the ways in which we are outside of our feminine energy, the ways that society conditions us to be outside of our feminine. So with that being said, let's get into the video. When you think about feminine energy, I want you to think about a Disney princess. Any princess can do. And I just want you to think about how they make you feel. The reason I am telling you this is because I have a 3-year-old niece right now, and she loves Disney movies. And I love that she loves some of the older films. Like I just showed her Princess and the Frog, or my mom showed her Princess and the Frog the other day, and she loves it. And I think that's a wonderful example of what femininity looks like, because femininity doesn't mean that you're going to be quiet or that you can't stick up for yourself. It's actually the opposite, and it doesn't have to be so in your face that a woman can stick up for herself, but being feminine does not mean that you have no power, that you have to be quiet and sit a certain way. No, that's not what it means. And that's why I love that Tiana was one of the princesses that my niece loves, because when she's with Naveen, at least, he's able to activate her feminine energy, because she feels safe with him enough to share that side of herself that is feminine and that is playful and that is vulnerable sometimes. And she can lean on him for support when she needs it. But before that happens, before she learns to trust Naveen, she is very masculine towards him. She's very much a go-getter, and I love that about her. But with Naveen specifically, she bosses him around, and she doesn't let him just work for nothing, you know? Anyways, I just think Tiana's a wonderful embodiment of feminine energy, because she has that dreamy charisma about her where she wants to open up her restaurant and she sings about it and she believes in herself fully. And she's willing to do anything, including kissing a frog, to get her restaurant. And just like all the other princesses, they all sing and they all dance. And that is something that is very, very feminine. So I want you to think about a princess that really speaks to your heart, because most of the time, the ones that speak to our hearts the most are ones that we resonate with the most. So my favorite is Tiana and Elsa, but yours might be different. And maybe just start by singing the songs that they sing, because it's likely that you relate to them, but you relate to them because your life story aligns with theirs in a way. And so when you're able to sing the songs that they're singing about their lives, it might resonate with you and where you're going in life. So it sounds silly, but guys, it works. Ladies, it works. All right, so now that we're past the Disney princess, I just wanted to get us into like a little bit of fantasy mood, because that is what femininity is. It's fantasy and it's feeling. And now we are going to talk about sensuality and sexuality. But first, we're honing in on sensuality. And what sensuality is it is feeling. It is being able to just feel so in the present moment, so in love with the present moment, that you're not thinking about anything else. And that you're just so like, you feel so good. Like, just today, I went on a hike this morning with my mom, and I was able to talk with her. That's social engagement. And I was also able to just stop and look around and just appreciate nature. Me and her did that several times on the hike, and we would just go, look how beautiful it is. Or wow. And my mom even took a couple pictures of me because it was just so pretty there. And it's so easy to take nature for granted, to take what God has given us for granted because of our phones, and because we find so much pleasure, instant gratification, pleasure on our phones, rather than going outside in the real world and feeling everything that nature has to offer, and and feeling it everywhere, like smelling it in the air and tasting it in the air maybe, and feeling the wind brush up against your skin, and maybe you feel a couple of leaves that aren't poisonous. Like right now I have my plant right here, and oh my gosh, I just love her, and she's growing absolutely amazing. Like she's just growing a lot of, I wish I could, no, I don't feel like getting up. But she's growing a lot of little baby leaves because I've been watering her for like the past month or two. Oh, she's just growing so well. I love it. But anyways, as I was saying, your sensual energy, so a big part of it is getting into nature. And I think because we are so on our phones all the time, so in front of a computer screen, we forget about the things that nature has to offer us. And not even nature necessarily, like outside, but how we can bring that sensuality indoors, and how we can learn to appreciate food, or drinking a warm cup of tea or hot chocolate. Like Christmas is coming up, and I can't wait for hot chocolate. And like spraying on your perfume and just fully being so sensual with it. We forget to do that, men and women, but women especially. And this is a huge player. Sensuality is a huge player in your feminine energy. And that is why a lot of women are out of touch with their feminine energy, is because they're out of touch with their sensuality. And I not only think this has to do with technology, but I do also think that it has to do with feeling ashamed of expressing emotion, and having some sort of trauma that is going unaddressed in your body. Because when you have trauma, it does affect your body. It does. Your body holds on to it. And that's why I really love to dance, to shake that trauma off of me. But when you have trauma, it puts you in survival mode, and it does not allow you to create, and it will make you feel as though you cannot feel good being in the present moment, because you are constantly, it's almost like PTSD, because you're constantly being reminded of that traumatic event that happened to you so many years ago. Or maybe it was recent, but regardless, it prevents you from being sensual, because it teaches your brain that it is not safe to be sensual. I broke her today. I kind of like this length better though. I don't know. It's so weird having a short nail. I don't know, I kind of like it from afar. We'll see. I keep digressing in this, but I kind of love it because that's what feminine energy is. It just goes with the flow. And speaking of flow, and speaking of sensuality, these pants that my friend got me are so cute. Oh, they're Christmas pants. I literally love her for getting them for me. Like, how cute are they? Oh my gosh. And they're so soft too. They're perfect. It's November yet, but I need to wear them all the time. And also along the lines of sensuality, I love these are just easy examples of ways in which you can incorporate sensuality into your life, like keeping the window open and letting the fresh air blow in and hearing the sounds of your environment. But you can have all of these things, like you can have a plant, you can have a candle lit, and you can have the window open. If it does not feel good to you, it won't activate your sensual side, it won't activate your femininity. So what you have to do is you have to incorporate something into your environment that does activate your senses, but that feels good to them. Because what one thing feels good to one person will not feel good to you. So for me, I like the way, I also do this for the health benefits. I drink kombucha, but I also like the way it like sizzles in my mouth, but you might not like that. So don't drink it. Because if you aren't able to express gratitude for the little things that you're incorporating into your environment, then you're not going to be sensual. Another big player with sensuality is gratitude. So feeling grateful for the things that you are feeling sensually. Okay? Oh, my niece is back. I don't know if you guys can hear her. She just started school. Or not just, but she's in school. And Yeah, I mean, she seems to be liking it, so that's good. Right? Okay. But as I was saying, one of the other blocks, along with technology and trauma, that you might not feel comfortable engaging in your sensuality as a woman, is previously just feeling ashamed to feel a certain way. I know I had this problem when I was younger, because if you watched my video on connecting with your inner child, I talked about how I had really, really bad temper tantrums and emotional dysregulation. And because of that, I didn't have a really good support system to help me through all of that. And I often dealt with it alone. I isolated myself, and it felt very lonely. And like no one cared about me, and it was just this whole huge thing that made me feel very low self-worth. And furthermore, it made me feel ashamed to feel certain ways, to feel angry, to feel sad, and altogether that my feelings were valid. I did not think my feelings were valid, and I was very, very upset about that because they were not being handled with care. And over time, I carried the notion with me that my feelings are not valid. And when you have that notion that you're carrying in your mind that your feelings aren't valid, why would I want to appreciate my plant? Why would I want to decorate my room so that it feels like me, so that it feels like a home that I can feel safe in? Oh my gosh, my niece is right outside. So my niece is literally outside right now trying to get in, but I'm just gonna keep talking. But I carried the notion with me that my feelings were not valid. And over time, that made me feel not good to feel emotion, to feel positive emotion. And it made those emotions of joy and gratitude, it made me feel very removed from them and like they were foreign, because I didn't know how to tap into those emotions. I didn't know how to feel safe with them. And eventually, I did learn how to feel safe with them, and I did learn that they will benefit me and that they aren't meant to harm me, that I should not feel ashamed to feel gratitude. I should actually feel very good about feeling grateful. But a lot of other women, I think, have this emotional block where they were taught to feel ashamed of their emotions in some way, and they have still not removed that block so that they can allow positive emotions to flow through. And when you don't have those emotions of gratitude or joy present in your life, why would you include things in your environment that bring you joy and gratitude? You know, like instead of bringing those things in that bring you joy and gratitude, you are going to be looking to bring things into your environment subconsciously that reaffirm the feelings you already do embody, such as depression or laziness or frustration, like things like that. Versus if you're feeling calm, like something I like to do is I like to keep my room very, very clean, not necessarily in a spray bottle way, but in a way that it's organized, and that makes my mind feel organized. Some people call it OCD. I call it internal medicine and internal peace. But like I said, with the technology, you should not only lessen your usage of technology to get into your sensuality, but you should also try to bring in gratitude in your life some way, whether that is lighting a candle at night if that feels good for you, while you're doing your skincare and listening to music, and just getting very sensual and almost playful with whatever it is you're experimenting with that is going to make you feel grateful or joyful, that just makes you feel like a little girl. So along with lessening technology and incorporating something that makes you feel childish and giddy, I also discussed removing any emotional blocks, which are experiences you might have had when you were younger that told you to feel ashamed of your emotions, period. Not a certain emotion, just feeling, period. And then thirdly, not getting rid of your trauma, but coming to peace with it and if you need to, going to therapy for it to figure out what it is that's holding a grip on you, because if you have trauma in your life that's unresolved, it's going to be affecting you and it's going to be blocking opportunities from coming into your life because you will not let them into your life. So that was a little bit of sensuality, and now we are going to get into sexuality. I might have to make a whole separate video on just sexuality because you'll see why. You'll see why with how long it takes. Sexuality is also a huge part of feminine energy as well as masculine energy. But with feminine energy, the reason why I think a lot of women they don't feel powerful with their sexuality, and sometimes they might feel timid by it, is because of two reasons. The first reason is because of how older men will catcall us, holler at us, sexually abuse us, make us sexually uncomfortable when we are very young. And these are old men, mind you. And they might think it's just fun and games, that it's just for play, especially if they're just catcalling, but it can be very, very frightening as a woman. And I'm saying this from experience of when I was younger. It doesn't happen today, I think, because of my RBF. But when I was younger, this would happen. And it's very sad to think about that older men would do this when I was like 13 or 14. And it happened whenever I would go to New York City with my friends. So I felt more safe that I was experiencing it with my friends, but the fact that I was so young and vulnerable walking with my friends and they were also going through it, like we all felt collectively scared, but at least we had each other. But I pray for the girls that go through this alone and girls that are younger. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of women, they don't feel powerful with their sexuality and they actually feel scared by it and they don't want to tap into it, because from that one negative experience that I had and other ones, but mainly with that one, that told my brain from a very young age that sexuality and attraction, I have to be afraid of that is a threat, because I felt so afraid in that moment. And then anything that was along the lines of that from that point on in my life automatically set off an alarm, because in that moment my brain was setting off an alarm. So your brain makes connections like this when we feel, especially when we feel scared, because that tells us that our lives are in danger. And when your life is in danger, your brain is going to make that threat a priority to pick up on and signal back to your brain and signal back to you and your body and put it into a fight or flight state of emotion. But in these instances, when men are catcalling women, especially young women, I think we get scared, one, because of our fight or flight response, and two, because our intuition is very strong, especially when we're younger, and we can feel when someone or something, like a situation, just does not feel safe. And that can be very scary when you know in your gut that something is not safe and that you don't have anyone around you to help you if something were to go wrong. So that's why it can feel scary, and that's why you might have that sort of constraint around the idea of embracing your sexuality and letting men pursue you. And also another reason why this might be frightening is because a lot of women are not taught about sex, about what it is, about what attraction is and how that all works. And when your brain isn't aware of something, it doesn't know about anything, that can create a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion and a lot of fear. Because if you're unfamiliar with something and then all of a sudden, if we're using the example of men catcalling you, if you're 12 years old, most likely you haven't had the conversation about sex yet and men are catcalling at you, you're going to be very confused. And also you're going to be scared, because why is a 30-year-old, 40-year-old man and his friends catcalling little old me in the street? What even is catcalling? You know, it's just going to be such a confusing time for you. And confusion and fear can go hand in hand, and they can almost work together as emotions. So any negative emotions that you've had like that, whether it was catcalling or men making you feel uncomfortable in some sort of way, that it felt like your sexuality was being under attack, I want you to know that that's completely valid, your feelings, but that it does not have power over you today. That in that moment, little you was doing the best that she could in order to feel safe and in order to protect herself. And that it is not her fault in any way, that it is society's fault for teaching these men that that is acceptable and that their actions are going unreprimanded. So I just want you to know that, because if you are holding on to that as a woman, that is a sign that your little girl is not feeling okay. And aside from sexuality, like, period, she should be feeling amazing. Okay? So if you need to, give her a little reassurance and give her the support that she needs right now. But now we are going to dive further into this idea of sexuality, because it can be a huge amplifier for your feminine energy. But if you feel ashamed by it, like I was just explaining, because of a multiple amount of reasons, then it is going to drain your feminine energy and it is going to prevent you from really stepping into it. The second topic I wanted to talk about with sexuality is the fact that a lot of women and a lot of kids aren't taught about sex. We aren't taught about it in a way that is sacred, at least. A lot of us learn about sex from movies, from books, or porn. We're going to talk on that. And also just like maybe health class, I don't know. But it's not taught in a way that you see it as a sacred spirit and a spiritual union between two souls, between a masculine and a feminine entity. You see it as your health teacher explaining it to you in a classroom with your peers that are giggling in the back. And it's really not given the respect it deserves, the act of sex. And over time, and even in social media today, why I'm getting so frustrated by social media, and I had to change up my feed, obviously. It's when I would see those Instagram reels that are talking about sex in such a casual way and making jokes of sex. And it's like, why? So I wanted to talk about, I'm gonna call it corn, because I don't know if YouTube is gonna take my video down, but a lot of us learn about sex from corn. And what corn teaches you as a woman, in a lot of cases, is to be submissive, to honestly, like, to be physically abused. And if you are not only watching that, if you are pleasuring yourself to that, and at a young age, that is going to be so horrible for your self-respect, for your self-concept, for your identity, and how you allow other people to treat you. Because if you are associating abuse, someone abusing you, with pleasure, you are going to subconsciously look for people that will mistreat you. Whether it's physical abuse, verbal abuse, and because you are going to be subconsciously associating that with pleasure. And along with that, in corn, there's also certain fetishizations, and there's a lot of degrading in it, and just overall like horrible treatment of women that has become so normalized for men and women to feel turned on by. And it's so concerning, because in that little fantasy that you have, that is the moment that you are pleasuring yourself with this material, you might think it's harmless, but in the moments afterwards, when you go into actual society, those things do not go away. They're in your subconscious, and they're even more powerful in your subconscious because you were pleasuring yourself to them. Like, you might not think it's a big deal, but it is a huge, huge deal. And I don't know if any men are watching this, but if you are, I highly encourage you not to resort to corn. as a resource for either sexual education or sexual gratification, and to just use your imagination instead, because the things on porn on the internet are very, very dark, and they can get even darker depending on who is at the will of it. And so I not only think this upsets the balance with women and how they think of themselves, that they are mere sex objects, but also the balance with men and how they view women as mere sex objects. And when they treat women as objects, as objects that do not have feelings, that do not feel hurt by being abused. I think that is a huge, huge problem, and will continue to grow into a problem as we get older. So I really don't understand why porn is legal, but I'll leave it at that. So yeah, the lack of education around the act of sex and the fact that it is not treated in a sacred way might, and also what I was saying earlier with how you might have experienced men catcalling you or making you feel uncomfortable in a sexual way, all of those things might be blockages for why you do not feel empowered by embracing and stepping into your sexuality as a woman. But I'm here to tell you that your sexuality is something that you feel so beautiful because of, and that you feel so playful with. It does not have to be something that you should feel ashamed of. You should feel the complete opposite by it. And that will be another video. But yes. So that was sensuality and sexuality for your feminine energy. And now we are going to get into our body image and our overall appearance. Let me read my notes first. All right, so before I get into this subtopic, I want you to think about how you were as a child. Or maybe you have a child in your life, whether it's a little sibling or a cousin. Right now I have my little niece with me. She's like 3 years old, and that girl could not care less about her appearance. Like, yes, she likes the finer things that I've taught her to like. She likes wearing dresses, she likes a necklace that I gave her, but she is not concerned about her appearance in a way that she gets insecure by it. And this is how we are as humans, but the way that we change when we get into adulthood is we see things in the media, we hear things from our peers or our family members that make us feel insecure about certain features that we have, about our weight, about the way our body looks or moves. And so we become very insecure by it because we feel like we have to identify with our appearance. And when that identity is threatened, when someone makes a jab at it, we feel threatened. And that makes us insecure in our appearance. What you have to do for this to get out of this mindset is realize that your body, your face, your appearance is not your identity. Your identity is something much deeper than that. It is your soul. It is how you carry yourself. And it's just all the internal characteristics that make you you. It has nothing to do with your body. It of course has to do with the way that you care for your body and the way that you move it. But it does not have to do with how your body looks at all. That is not your identity. So the ways in which a lot of women feel like they have to identify with their body is because of how men and women make fun of it growing up. I never had this happen to me, but I definitely did have my appearance made fun of when I was younger, because I honestly don't know why. Like, some people just, kids are silly like that. But it was never by like adults, but my peers would very often like make comments on my appearance, and this was all while I was experimenting with it. And when you're young, it can be very tempting and very easy to just assume that people will like you, that people won't like you because they say something about your appearance that they think is weird. And when you have that idea that people will only like you if your appearance is good, like it fits their standards, then that is going to make you, one, people please, and that is going to make you step out of your feminine energy. Because if you are not appreciating your body, if you are not blessing your body with what God gave you, and you're trying to change it for another person, no, don't do that. It's going to teach you to live for other people, and it's going to teach you that you are not enough, when we know that is false. Like, anyone could say that and it would be fake. But when we do feel when we do feel like our identity is being attacked because of the ways that I was saying, like when someone's making fun of your appearance and when you identify with your appearance, when we do feel threatened in that way, it's so easy for us to develop a toxic relationship with food to try to change our appearance, or with exercise, or with makeup and filtering. And we just try to change ourselves in so many ways so that this one person that made fun of us will feel pleased. I don't care about that one person. I don't care. I don't care if it was your mother, if it was your father, a teacher, a peer. Toss them to the side right now, because their opinion is so invalid and it does not matter. I don't care if it's the president of the United States. I really don't care if it's the president of the United States, actually. But their opinion is not valid on how you look and about how that affects your worth as a human being. Are you joking me? Like, get out of that delusional state you're in if you're thinking that, because it is not true. But what I want to focus now on is when you start to develop these toxic relationships, either with food or with exercise, and you just feel like you have to change your body in a certain way. When you're doing that, it makes your body a place that is chaos and a place that is a war zone, whereas you could be having a peaceful body for your mind and for your spirit to thrive in. But when you have a war zone of a body going on where you're constantly fighting its needs, when it is screaming at you that it needs food, and maybe you're starting to faint in class because you're not giving it food, when that happens is when you are not going to is when you are going to damage your body over time. And if your body is not a place of sanctuary, your mind and your spirit cannot flourish. So if your mind and your spirit are not flourishing, neither is your feminine energy. Neither can your sensuality, because you are so fixated on pleasing a person or pleasing society so that they feel comfortable around you. Who cares if they're comfortable or not? I don't, and neither should you. You should feel so confident in yourself that regardless if people stare or whether they're snarking at you, I don't even know if that's a word, that you don't care, that you don't even notice it, because you are so in love with yourself and you so love the way that you dress yourself and the way that you accessorize yourself, that it doesn't affect you, that it doesn't even come into your reality, that that could be a possibility. Who cares? Genuinely, wake up. My friend just texted me something funny. But yes, so with this issue with your appearance, I don't want you to identify with your body or with your face or with the clothes that you own, because none of that makes up your identity. And when you try seeking validation from other people from your body, that is so dangerous. And from your appearance in general, when you start to seek validation from people in that way, that teaches you that your body is like a form of currency, that your face is a form of currency, because currency is an exchange of energy. And you're teaching yourself that you can only get one person's energy by giving them a version of your body that satisfies them. And that is very dangerous for your feminine. So instead of finding power and instead of finding validation from your body and from other people validating it, find your inner power, find your inner sensuality, and activate that instead. And I promise you, you will feel 10 times more calm, 10 times more grateful, more joyous, and more beautiful than anyone could ever make you feel. As long as you are validating yourself, you are good to go. That is all you need. That is all you need to feel beautiful. It doesn't matter about who's attracted to you or who's not, who thinks you look weird. None of that matters. As long as you think you're beautiful is the only person that matters. So focus on not changing your body or changing your face, but focus on changing your environment, changing up your room to make it more beautiful, to make you feel more beautiful, and changing up your hobbies to, again, make you feel more beautiful, to make you feel more excited about life, you know? And eventually, like, you will have that external glow up. I just made a video on this. Also gonna link it down below. But I hope all of you benefited from this video in some way, because I do think as women, we are conditioned from a very young age, not necessarily to work against our feminine energy, but we are not conditioned to be in love with our feminine energy. So, which has the effect of us not necessarily hating our feminine, but being a stranger to it. So that's why I have this channel. And if you like it as a resource, then stay tuned, because I post every week on topics like this, but I also have topics on cycle syncing and feminine health, because I just think it's so important to have these resources as women. And hopefully I will see you in my next video, but if not, have a lovely day, and I hope everything good is going in your life and God is working with you. Have a lovely day.